Oh yes, legends, how's everybody doing? Let's analyze the situation here for the price of Bitcoin getting a little bit of a rally at the moment as we speak. Make sure to absolutely destroy that like button, guys, on your way in. How is everyone doing today, guys? We're going to be analyzing the situation. We are getting a little bit of a bounce right now at the moment, and we are going to be coming into some levels of resistance. Let's go right away and say hello to the beautiful community. First of all, guys, let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. I'm just going to get to the top left here so everything is good and you can see the chart, okay? First of all, hello to everybody, guys. Price is getting a little bit of a bounce and, you know, very much aware of this scenario on the lower time frames. However, you know, I would have preferred, like everybody, a little bit more of a pullback, right? We were wedging out in a triangle structure here. We were wedging out. We got the fake out to the downside and we just popped here to the upside. S&P 500 getting that nice little rally also. And now the question is, we need to really see price following through in this area. This momentum to the upside does not look very impulsive, if you ask me, okay? You know, this is a very, very difficult movement to the upside that happened in between Sunday and today. And here we were just wedging out. We all want that nice correction, okay, to hit, you know, 50% golden pocket zone, right? Back test this low potentially, form bullish CVD divergence. You know, it's very much aware of the price really just squeezing out, shallow pullback and getting the rally here. Now, the question is this rally going to be strong enough? What we want to see here is volume kicking in. We are starting to hit some resistance levels at the moment. We are basically hitting a naked point of control in this area. I'm not sure why I haven't got it on the chart, but we basically have a naked point of control here on Binance, okay? On Bybit, depending on what exchange you are using right now, we are hitting this you know, high volume node. On Bybit, it's slightly higher. If you do go to the session volume profile, we can see how the price is basically hitting that naked point of control. I'm not sure why it's not on the chart here. It must have deleted for some reason, but regardless, I did have it today. And that is here, round about the 115.3K. This level of resistance, yeah, we could get a little reaction and start, you know, correcting if we do reject from this level, or it could break out. Of course, as we are pumping right now in this zone, I would be very much aware of the possibility of the price following through. And the main reason why is because, you know, this would be a very, very shallow pullback. Okay, I have to be honest here. This is like very, very shallow pullback for a wave two. Hasn't really hit the 50% Fibonacci. Sorry, the 236 Fibonacci. Just basically scratched it. It is a shallow pullback. However, you know, it's uncommon to see a wave two retracing at the 0.236 Fibonacci. What we are going to be talking about mainly, okay, because, you know, I am very much aware of the risk here of really following through. And this was it, guys, right? We had the rally throughout Sunday. Part of today has been the correction, which is very sideways, hitting the 236 Fibonacci, right? Which is quite rare on a correction after a major move, right? We did get a nice bounce of a few $1,000s throughout Sunday. You expect that correction to at least hit the 382 Fibonacci, get a bit lower, and then, you know, obviously look for that third wave to develop. The overall question right now, is this a third wave on the development, or is it going to be a C wave, right? This is just basically a three-wave structure, and we need to analyze what are the most important levels of invalidation for the extreme bearish case scenario on the lower time frame. I had to zoom in, guys. I was planning to, well, I am going to go through higher time frame and look at the different scenarios. It's just because we were pumping right now that I zoomed in on the lower time frame. But I want to go through higher time frame, and then from higher time frame we'll be going in through the lower time frame to really discuss the different probabilities. Probabilities for a bounce, were very, very likely. We were discussing this yesterday. The low here could be in. We were looking at different scenarios such as a WXY here, and we formed a zigzag move down. The big move already happened between Thursday and Friday. And what we're looking at here is wedging out, getting a chop. Could we form a wave 4 and another low right over there just to complete, that ABC movement here locally on the structure? I mean, we were very much aware of the low being in, or either one more low and then get the rally. Now, for the extreme bearish case, there is an invalidation pivot, as we mentioned yesterday, which is overlapping this pivot low. I'm going to keep it very simple. For the extreme bearish case scenario, okay? So, I mean, this pivot is crucial. This pivot low is crucial for the impulsive move to continue to the downside. It will literally be invalidated for a strong push down, right? Get 5 waves move to the downside from this movement right over here, and give a chance for the bulls to actually go to lower levels, as this can be countered very well as an impulse. It's not at the moment. So looking at the extreme bearish case scenario, as we were discussing yesterday, right, the wave 4 has to be in this area. As mentioned throughout the previous stream, I am more interested in that bounce, realizing that a bounce is likely, okay? Realizing that a bounce is very, very likely. And there's, one main reason why that was explained throughout yesterday's stream. The big move happened already. Right? The big move down happened already. This is not a moment to really kind of panic and really call for much lower prices. If you do get a big move out of a consolidation, well, big, I mean, if you want to call this big, it's a, $5,000, $6,000 move that we had between Thursday and Friday. It is rare to consolidate or correct and get a big move down. This is extremely rare to happen. Right? If you already had a big move down, this was explained basically on yesterday's stream. So you really want to be a little bit more excited in getting into long positions since we got that drop, between Thursday and Friday, and start looking for the price bottoming out. And the first signs that you do have of the price bottoming out after a large move to the downside is literally when you see the price not breaking down successfully from the last pivot lows. Right? Because if you go with the general idea of Elliott wave theory, which is a 5-wave move with a strong impulsive move, right, in the third wave, which is what usually happens, right? It's what usually happens. And, as we do talk probabilities here on the chart, we look at the highest probability scenario that could happen. Of course, entering the trade and looking at the levels and managing risk is another thing, right? Then analyzing the charts. So when we got this move, literally when you have the big move in a 5-waver, you're literally looking for that leg down. And it's very common to get down to the 4th wave if it is to the upside, right? That is the common target for the correction. So after a big move up, you realize that the highs, are going to chop potentially. Double, triple top, it doesn't matter. What you're looking at is the end of a 5th wave and then the correction. Same rule to the downside, right? Where you do have a 5-wave move to the downside. When the big move already happens, you realize that you likely going to chop, right? You're kind of looking for that 5th wave to end at some stage. You're going to realize that the lows are not being broken successfully. And then you're looking for that rally, very, very common to hit the 4th wave. The main question right now, as we were analyzing yesterday's price action, there was a chance in the 5th wave to be in here, right? It was a little bit, this is the main discussion, right? Is the low in, or will we create another low, right? Will we create that double bottom, or is the low in already, right? And we just, people are looking for a pullback to get into a long, and if you get a shallow pullback, a lot of people will miss that long position, and the bears literally are looking at this as a dead cat bounce, right? Dead cat bounce, and you're looking the price to roll over. So it's one of those tricky little shallow ranges that, you know, is not too easy to trade, right? If you get a pullback down, 3-wave structure, very nice bullish CVDs, right? And you start overlapping the lower highs, then you realize that this has a high chance to move up, right? But shallow pullback is a little bit difficult eventually. So, you know, no extreme major high probability in the zone just because it's been a very, very shallow move to the downside. So the overall question right now, based on yesterday's analysis as well, is, yeah, maybe the wave 5 could have been in already from this move, right? Where you have your movement to the downside, you got your nice 1 and 2, you got the big move right over here, your large wave 4 in timing, right? That's what you want to see. Wave 4s are usually extended in time compared to your wave 2, compared to your wave 3. It's very, very common. So this all leaned out on, yeah, very nice, right? You're breaking down, you're overlapping the last pivots, right? This is like, okay, you realize that the price is losing steam after the big move. After the big move, it is uncommon to get another big move down without a significant, you know, bounce. So when we discuss this price action after this big move, as mentioned yesterday, you can fit some kind of a 5-wave structure here. I mean, it's not the most beautiful. You have your wave 1, there's a bit of overlap right over here, or this could be, yeah, it is very, very tricky to counter a very solid 5-wave move down. There was ever so slight overlap here, so it had to be some kind of a expanding diagonal. It can't be an expanding diagonal because your wave 3. Yeah, I mean, this was discussed yesterday. There was overlap here, so it is a little bit of a tricky 5-wave move down. Yeah, I had a count here yesterday which was suggesting a possible contracting move to the downside, but that is not possible. If you do count this movement to the downside, 1, 2. I mean, unless this was the lower high, yeah, not the best looking 5-wave move down, if I'm honest with you here. Not the best looking 5-wave move down. Big retracement, then another leg down, then another lower high, and this movement down here. It is 5-wavy. It would be more of a contracting diagonal, even though, you know, your wave, this was a bit long here, without a doubt. But it is a bit 5-wavy. It was a 5-wave down here to potentially finish that structure on the larger time frame for an ABC, right? This is the general idea about this possible correction. You got that 3-wave move down in an ABC and 5 waves here to the downside, right? What you're literally looking at here is the ultimate chop to finish, right? So is it possible that the low could be in here? You know, we are bouncing right now pretty nicely. This is the absolute key for the price to continue the range or actually jump to higher levels. This level right over here, this level, which is 115.8K, the moment you get above this level, then you are eliminating the possibility of a strong impulsive move down. 1, 2, 3, 4. You really want to start, you know, rejecting in this zone for the bears round about the 50% Fibonacci, which is literally where we are right now. So anybody that is bearish, you know, your hard invalidation is here. If this were to roll down and claim the lows again, right? This is like the level where to reject. If you want to maintain a 5-wave structure from this movement to the downside. So yeah, I mean, this is the level where it needs to reject for the bears. Let's be clear. This is the zone where it needs to reject. We're just about hitting this pivot low, okay, as a major support level, as resistance. We're just in that zone right over here. I like the scenario that the low could potentially be in. You know, I'm not, you know, like I mentioned yesterday, I'm not interested in shorting down here these bounces. I'm more interested in the reversal, just realizing that it has to happen at some point with higher probability. And the main reason why was, you know, what I explained yesterday. The big move happened already. The big move down, right, of, you know, $5,000 already happened. So if you're trying to detect that wave 4, the wave 4 is not in. This is 1, 2, 3, and this is the 4th wave. We're going to create one more low. If you're really getting, you know, having an attempt to trade that wave 4, when you realize that potentially, you know, this is a 3-wave structure and you already have 5 waves down in this area, it becomes very risky to short these bounces for another low, right? No matter how bearish you are, when you look at the technical analysis, the probabilities, as explained yesterday, maybe the low is in here, guys, and we do get that move up, or maybe we create one more low, and I would be very interested in a double bottom, right? If we were to come down to this area again yesterday. So mainly focusing on the long positions, and the shorts were just a bit too risky on the bounce, right? Despite, you know, speculating that this was a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, you know, could we be forming an ABC flat here? Could we be forming a larger corrective move throughout today and then move down? It just becomes too risky, in my opinion, realizing that, you know, we have this count right over here that fits in very, very nicely, and the low could be in, as mentioned yesterday, right? The low could be in. I'm not interested in getting into the wave 4 just for the move down. I know there's big risk. There is a valid count for this to be a finished 3-wave structure, and what we're more interested is in the reversal to happen at some point, as you know, explained in yesterday's stream, you know, very much analyzing this to be more of a corrective structure than actually looking at an impulsive move down. So not too interested in the short here, guys, when we're speculating on that wave 4, right? You know, I don't like this scenario, right? I'm very much in favor of the rally, of the bounce, of this other scenario that fits much better and, in my opinion, has higher probability. So overall longs were more interesting throughout yesterday's stream, purely based on what I explained, right? This could potentially be the end of the 3-wave move down. Speculating on that last 4-5, if it is going to happen or not, it's just not worth it. I would rather look for longs, okay, on the double bottom or on a higher low, right? Or if you're in a long position already, then absolutely phenomenal, right? It was here's where we did get that choppy price action, and we look for the reversal. So I think we want to go through higher time frame. As explained, we are hitting that naked point of control. We are hitting the last level here for that potential 4th wave for the bears, guys. You just need to fit it in the chart. I don't like it. If we do move down, I would be happy to miss the short position. I would be happy to say, you know, if we start rolling down from here very aggressively between today and tomorrow, to have an attempt and revisit the lows. I mean, unless we do get a nice, you know, 5-wave move down and then we get the bounce, I might enter a short later on if it is very clear that the rejection has high volume. It's a 5-wave structure. Just realizing that we could form a 5-wave move down later on in the last couple of days. But on this movement up, as we're moving up, I'm not happy to get into this short position, even though if we do get a rejection, we are hitting that naked point of control. We are hitting a bit of resistance. We are currently above it, and the 50% not hitting the golden pocket, preferably not overlapping this pivot low, is where the bears need to reject. I mean, if you are bearish, you know, and you think that this is a dead cat bounce, this is literally the level that really needs to start rolling over. The main reason why I don't like it too much as we're pumping into the level is, you know, was explained on yesterday's stream. Yesterday's stream, we did talk about this situation. The low might be in. We might form another low, and I'm extremely interested in a double bottom because of this. Big move has happened. It's here. When you have a big move up, you're likely going to, you know, very, very likely top out or bottom out, right? if we're looking at the big move already happening. So the shorts were not too interesting for me based on yesterday's stream. So now we need to really map the structure for the different possibilities that could happen and what I'm interested in. If the price were to roll over, I'm still in a few swing long positions. If the price were to roll over from here to revisit the lows, I would still be very interested in getting into a double bottom. Very, very interested in getting into a long position here, realizing that a rally is likely. Maybe it's not going to happen, but if it does, that is a major long that I would be interested in. Double bottom scenario. And you may ask, why would you be interested in a long position here, and why wouldn't you basically be afraid of the drop, of the breakdown, and go to much lower levels? Well, it all has to do with this corrective move, right? We got this movement down, this correction right over here, and this leg to the downside literally starts from here. If you see that movement down, you need to label this as your wave 1 or your wave A. This is your wave B, and this is your big wave move to the downside, which is either a wave C or a wave 3. When you understand that the biggest move down here has already happened, if you come and revisit the lows without hitting that pivot low, which is the invalidation for an impulse, this would no longer be an impulsive move to the downside. The possibility of a wave 1-2 and a wave 1-2 here is low probability, right? Despite that you get a movement to higher levels, hit the golden pocket or the 7-8 from this pivot, it's a low probability that you get a double 1-2 here and you smash down in a third wave. So this movement is breaking down successfully, just as breaking down successfully from this low, guys. We haven't broken down. I mean, I don't see this as a successful breakdown of $2,500. The movement down to break here very aggressively is low probability, and there's one simple reason why. This second wave 1 and 2, if we were going to label it as a second wave 1 and 2 compared to your first wave 1 and 2, is, as you can see, it's extremely much more powerful, right? Much more aggressive in price action compared to your first wave 1 and 2. And that is rare to see. That is very, very rare to see. So you realize that if you were to come down here from this level, which is probably not going to happen, guys. Maybe the low is in here locally. We are moving up quite nicely for the moment. We could really break through here and form a 3-wave structure to the upside, right? Just get a little bit of steam here throughout the next coming hours, which is, I think, is the highest chance that that does happen. But as explained, double 1-2 here, despite overlapping this pivot and hitting the golden pocket or hitting the 7-8 Fibonacci from the pivot last lower high and the last low, it's just very, very rare, right? If you're expecting a wave 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, eventually this second wave 1 and 2 is part of a third wave. This is unlikely. It's an unlikely scenario. Just because your second wave 1 and 2 is extremely more, it has more price action than your first wave 1 and 2, right? Which is rare. You want to see the second wave 1 and 2, as explained yesterday, right? Slightly more shallower than for the wave 3, right? And then your 4, 5. So for that main reason, if the price decides to roll down from this area, if it decides to roll down and revisit the lows, this double bottom swing failure pattern, if you wish, has high probability that if the price comes down to revisit the lows, I'm not sure if it will, guys, but if it does, there is a very, very high chance that it does get the bounce and claims at a bare minimum the lower high that has been created today, if it is going to be created. Okay, so it's all about identifying the highest probability trade setups, and this would eventually be a high probability trade setup if the price were to come down. Now, do I know if it is going to come down? Well, the bears need to reject from this pivot, but I would be very much interested in this long position. So let's go through the higher time frame. I'm just very much aware of the price getting follow through. Okay, if we were to reject, I think from this zone, I think there would be a better trade, which is if you get that breakdown and a bounce here, very poor in volume, bearish CVDs, you will have a better chance later on the sign of weakness, because you could confirm that this is a three-wave structure, right? Your third wave was shallow and it just breaks down. Then on the bounce, eventually, if you were to form a proper impulsive move down, then the bounce will be looking very attractive to get into the short position. But we need this kind of wave down that looks impulsive to confirm that three-wave move has finished. And, we literally, this no longer becomes bullish, and you get that breakdown. And then obviously that bounce, you are really looking at the lows to be taken, very likely, if you get that impulsive move to the downside. So we need a little bit of more information. You might think, why am I not interested in this short? Like I explained, I realized that this three-wave move down could be finished, as explained yesterday. So, shorting here becomes a little bit risky. I don't see high probability. I am aware that this correction today was very shallow, but it's uncommon to see. But this shallow pullback for a wave 2 or a wave B, it does happen. It does happen. And the best example was the price action that we had here back in April of 2025, right? Where you get that movement to the upside and you form an extremely shallow pullback in a triangle move, right? Just a bullish pennant, if you wish. Very, very shallow. This barely hit the 236 Fibonacci. It probably just about scratched it. It just barely scratched the 236 Fibonacci, and then we got a big wave to the upside. And you're like, wow, right? Well, that was powerful. And then this also was a shallow pullback and got another leg to the upside. So we cannot get off the, we cannot say that is not possible. Without a doubt, it is a shallow pullback here throughout today. And, the price could really, stretch its legs. It can become an ABC or a 1, 2, 3. It stretches its legs a little bit more, maybe hitting the 1-to-1 extension. You don't really know. You don't really know. So, I mean, as I don't know, there's no high probability setup at this given point. If you are confident in the rejection, because this is, an impulsive move down and this is your wave 4, as mentioned, your rejection has to happen in this area. Stop loss above this pivot low, round about the golden pocket. If you are bearish, this is the zone where we need to reject. Three-wave structure. We are downtrending throughout the last week. If the downtrend is going to continue successfully in an impulse, this is the rejection point. This is the rejection area. So you take that with a grain of salt. You do as you wish. I prefer missing the short position, if I'm honest with you. Okay, just realizing that this could have been a finished structure. If we move down from here, then okay, so be it. I missed the short, but I'm interested in the long. I will catch another long position, because I realize that a failed breakdown here is the highest probability, and I will be jumping into long positions on the sign of strength if that were to be the case. Now, we are going to be discussing the higher time frame legends, okay, ever so slightly. I think it is important to realize, where we are at the moment. I'm just going to discuss this was a question that somebody asked in the Legends Pro community, which I'm happy to discuss on the live stream, which is very interesting, of course. We were analyzing the scenario here. Can we form a wave 4, right? Can we form a wave 4 here and continue this uptrend momentum? Wave 4s, you know, I would say barely do hit the golden pocket, okay? Barely, almost never. Almost never. If you analyze a bullish market structure, you will realize that you will, you know, very, very hard to find a wave 4 to hit the golden pocket from your wave 2 and your wave 3, right? From the golden pocket being hit and get that, you know, 5-wave structure is extremely rare in an impulse, right? Almost never happens. So for me, this has been an invalidation already, that we are in a strong impulsive move to the upside. Just because from this larger wave 2, this one right over here, wave 1 and 2, which is pretty obvious. It was a 5-wave structure and it was an ABC flat. When we get Fibonacci from that level, we've hit the golden pocket, and that is a big problem for an impulsive move up. It is a very, very big problem. You know, this is why I'm in doubt of exhaustion, right? I think we're not going to hit $200,000 in this bull market. Probabilities are decreasing as we get this information, right? Because this, to be an impulse right now, you know, is literally being invalidated because of that wave 4 hitting the golden pocket. So these extreme high prices for this bull market, you know, hitting 170 or 200K, are really decreasing in probabilities. We are starting to see the first sign of weakness in this latest move to the downside that we had, guys. You know, this is crucial information that we were waiting for, right? We maintain very bullish, and we start not getting that bullish for higher prices as soon as we start hitting some, you know, major invalidation levels from the latest impulsive move up, which is this one, right? Since June and July. So this is almost 2 months of price action where the impulse has been literally invalidated, right? To potentially, you know, we were discussing the possibility of a wave 1, wave 2, wave 1, wave 2, right? Or, you know, finish that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correction, and then you say 1, 2, 1, 2, right? We absolutely gonna rocket super cycle, and we are gonna blast off in a massive wave 3 here to get 140, 150. But, you know, the probabilities are going down, guys. You know, this bull market is coming to its end stages. Very, very likely. Yeah, I am looking for another all-time high, but I don't see the price breaking out successfully. So, and this has to do with the information that we did get this last week, guys. This is already that information of the trend for, you know, is losing momentum, right? It's losing momentum. And, you know, this is where I come to the conclusion on the different scenarios that could be developing in the next coming months and weeks and months, basically, right? Which is, first of all, you know, this possibility right over here, right? A few weeks ago, we were labeling that an ABC flat here was an unlikely scenario, purely based on, you know, hitting the hang on a second, this one is still very much valid, my bad. This one is still very much valid. Yeah, this one is very much valid. This is another scenario. I got mixed up here because it was an ABC from here, ABC flat from here, unlikely. But this one is very much valid, the higher time frame one, where you have a 3-wave move down, 3-wave move up. You're at the B wave target area, which is the 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 3, 8, 2 Fibonacci. And maybe this is the, you know, if we were to move down from here very aggressively, in the next coming weeks, right? Give or take few months. If you were to break down very aggressively from this zone, this could be the bear market, literally, right? This could be the bear market because, and then obviously you look for the bottom formation around about 70 to 60K zone. I mean, this would be an awesome opportunity if we were to suddenly get a major crash on Bitcoin, because we would label all of this as your wave 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of this is your wave 1 right over here. And this is your wave 2. It's correcting down in an ABC flat. So I would be very excited based on accumulation. I don't see this being the highest probability. We might as well end the bull market, you know, forming a contracting diagonal or something else. But it's a very valid point where you have a 3-wave move down, a 3-wave move up. And, you know, if shit hits the fan, guys, in the next coming weeks with whatever happens worldwide, well, it would eventually, you know, the target zone would be sweeping up that higher low that was formed in April of 2025 at 70K zone, right? That is the accumulation, new accumulation area that would be the best area to buy Bitcoin. And, you know, there's one simple reason why this would be bullish on the higher time frame. Why this would be so exciting if Bitcoin were to get below 80,000, right, to 70 or even 60,000, between 60 and $80,000. Why would it be so exciting to buy Bitcoin based on the charts if we were to get an aggressive move down? I'm not leaning that this is the high chance to happen, guys. Eventually, this is higher time frame. We need a lot of information to really see if this is going to happen on the local time frame. But the main reason why that this would be bullish is because the rally that we had, if you were to reject and not hit all-time high, which I don't think is going to happen. I do see all-time high happening, guys. It's just a scenario that I want to explain. If we were to not hit all-time high and come down here in the next few months below $80,000, is because you ended up in a 3-wave structure. And there's no other contracting diagonal that you can fit in here. Having a 3-wave structure to finish an all-time high is, you know, literally part of a larger correction, right? And you can't fit another diagonal. You can't fit another 5-wave structure. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, it's not possible, right? You're moving up in a 3-wave here also, which you would discuss. 3-wave down, 3-wave up. If you move down aggressively, you know, this would be a massive, large, flat structure. And you know, this could be the bear market. And a lot of people will be like, bear market, we're going to lower prices, 2026, you know, and it might be a very shallow bear market just for the first Q1 of 2026, maybe Q2. But ultimately, I mean, this would be the zone where I would be very, very interested saying, you know, the 4-year cycle has been messed up, basically, right? There's no more 4-year cycle. It's been a completely different cycle. And people, I think, would be expecting much lower prices for Bitcoin if we do get down here. But I think this would be the opportunity zone, purely based on what I explained. You cannot finish a 3-wave structure at an all-time high. I mean, if you were to have a contracting diagonal here somewhere, then yes. But it would be 1, 2, and then this would be 3-wave, the 3rd wave. So, you know, I'm not sure if you're following up here, but as we moved up in a 3-wave structure, and if we were to reject very aggressively, this would be exciting. It would be exciting moment to really start believing, you know, not believing, but really analyzing this as a flat structure, running flat or an expanding flat, whatever comes. We would have to analyze that scenario, but it would be the opportunity, guys, because this could be the sign of, you know, super cycle, right? Super cycle, right? We end up blasting off in a 3rd wave later on, maybe in 2026. Very speculative, but it would be one scenario. Big major opportunity if we were to roll down here in the next coming months. Big opportunity, okay? So I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, I do realize that we ended up this bull market with a 3-wave structure. which eventually would bring that big, massive corrective move. So going through the different scenarios here on the higher time frame, I mean, this is one of them. This does look pretty interesting. It does look pretty interesting. However, this latest move up, doesn't fit very nicely as a three-wave structure. And it does look very impulsive, where you have 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 5, right? You do have a pretty textbook impulsive move here almost, which is difficult to fit as a three-wave structure. However, you do have a three-wave move down here. Could this be a three-wave move up here? If we do end up sweeping up the lows at 98k, a contracting diagonal, this would be a zone where people would be screaming for bear market, right? Very, very likely aggressive move down to sweep up 98k, 100k basically. I think this would be an opportunity area to look for swing failure pattern, you know, hold this low, fake breakout, and ultimately look for all-time high later on, and then finish the bull run very, very likely just hitting all-time high, 130k maybe plus, and really looking for the price to roll over later on. If we start rejecting like this here, guys, I will be very much on the side of, you know, potentially bear market is on the way, So would be a good decision to sell a bit of Bitcoin in, you know, for me anyway. I would be selling another 10-20% of my Bitcoin holdings, just realizing that the momentum is really just losing strength, right? And on the higher time frame, I got someone, you know, really asking me in comment section throughout the last few weeks, Andy, please tell me when you think that the Bitcoin top, you know, is in or very close to being in, and that we're very unlikely gonna go to much higher levels. Well, we got that information just with this tiny drop. I mean, that doesn't mean I am really expecting all-time high, but I do realize that the probabilities in blasting off are really decreasing based on the latest move up that no longer looks like an impulse. So yeah, I mean, that's, you know, this is one scenario eventually that could be interesting. Of course, we do need a larger pullback for that. This is something that we would be discussing in the next coming weeks or months. If it were to be the case that we are getting the pullback based on higher time frame, then obviously there's the lower time frame ascending contracting diagonal, which, you know, does look, you know, this would eventually, you know, this could be interesting. This could still remain bullish on the higher time frame, just because it could be, you know, your wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, right? It could still be part of that larger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just wedging out, getting exhausted. It's a lot of information to develop, to get in right now, but this could, I mean, I really don't like that much higher time frame, guys, because there's too many scenarios, right? We're mainly more interested in local time frame, local bounces, rejections, right? To day trade, look for a few $1,000s of a move to make some profit. I just wanted to comment up on this stream to say that breaking out here with a massive move, you know, to get to 150 or 200k is decreasing in probabilities based on the pullback that we got last week, okay? And the exhaustion is very much real at the moment. I don't want to be the bear on the higher time frame, but I just realized that exploding out for this year to hit, you know, above 150 and, you know, 200k is unlikely. It's starting to be an unlikely scenario. And if you ask me why, is because the latest move that we've had since June has failed as an impulse. This has failed for a strong impulse as we've hit the golden pocket, invalidating that wave 4. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? If we would have maintained the 50% Fibonacci, you know, or the 382 and got one more high, then this would have been looking beautiful, right? This would be beautiful. Very strong impulsive move still, you know, big rally, big bull run. You know, we look for a corrective move later on and continuation to the upside, but that is not the case, guys, right? We need to give the bad news based on the charts. This latest move to the upside that we've had since June, after this clear three-wave corrective structure, this has failed to be an impulse. It's failed to be a strong impulsive move. And that comes to a question that somebody asked in the Legends Pro community, guys. If you are interested in joining the Legends Pro, guys, you do have the first link down below. Join the Telegram community. We can hop you in the Legends Pro community. Okay, we'll give you information on how to join the Legends Pro or the Telegram Signals channel, where today there's been an awesome scalp short position from Dylan, okay, provided in the Discord. Very nice take profit has been hit. Then the rest of the position stopped out at break even, but a very nice position here inside of the Legends, okay, inside of the Telegram Signals channel, okay. Let's go right away through somebody asking me this scenario that I want to explain. And somebody was asking about, what if we form a, you know, from this rally that we've had, this corrective move, can this be a 1-2-1-2 and then, you know, third wave? And that comes to the same explanation that was mentioned from this movement down being a double 1-2-1-2, right? And breaking down here successfully is not what I'm looking at, low probability. And if we test the lows, I am very much interested in a reclaim of the low and getting, you know, pretty much long here, understanding that, yeah, a breakdown here successfully is unlikely to happen. So same explanation. I think I got it here on a folder, which would be, this would be the valid count, where you have your wave one right over here. And here you have a complex sideways WXY. Okay, because you have a flat in your A wave, you have a zigzag in your, you're flat in your W wave, a zigzag in your X wave, and then you have a triangle structure, which was also an idea that we had back here. I mean, we were very much aware of this. It was either a double 1-2 or a WXY. This is why we went long here in this area. This was a movement that I did manage to profit very, very nicely, guys. You know, it's on the videos. We did talk about this on YouTube. We were analyzing this structure, and a double 1-2 was one scenario, or a WXY was another scenario, right? Finishing a triangle here in your Y wave. So this would be the idea, right? If this is your wave one and this is your wave two, somebody asked, what if this is a wave one and this is another wave two? And eventually we would have to map this situation here as, you know, a 5-wave structure, which is, you know, very much what we saw, right? A pretty nice impulsive move, which we were trying to label this as a possible wave 3 and a possible wave 4 to get another leg up in a wave 5, right? This did not happen. We retraced too much, so it's not looking too great. So this idea of a double 1-2 is low probability to get a blast off wave 3. The main reason why is because your second wave 1 is extremely longer than your first wave 1, and your wave 2 is also, you know, quite longer in time than your second wave 2. Than your first wave 2, sorry. And usually you want to see this. Usually you want to see this in your second wave 1 and 2, you know, smaller than your first wave 1 and 2, which is your higher time frame, right? Wave 1 and 2. So this is low probability. Low probability. It's a bit of wishful thinking. Could it be possible? Yes, but you know, nobody knows what's going to happen at the end of the day. but we basically lean on the probability side, right? So moving up from here in a wave 3 is extremely low probability, unlikely to happen, right? Anybody that's, you know, thinking about this being a 1-2-1-2 and we blast off in a wave 3, it's extreme low probability, because your second wave 1 and 2 is just too long compared to your first wave 1 and 2, right? Your second wave 1 and 2 is basically part of your wave 3, right? So this is literally what you would be looking at. A second wave 1 and 2 is part of your wave 3, right? It's basically 5 wave move to the upside in a wave 3. So you want the second wave 1 and 2 to be smaller, because it's part of a, you know, the wave 3, not larger, right? So that's basically the explanation on this. That this is, you know, low probability. It's just something that somebody asked, and I wanted to let you know, just a bit of information and education, basically, right? If we can fit a bit of education, realizing the probabilities of certain scenarios, then eventually we'll put it on the, you know, live stream, because it, you know, live stream and video updates is more based on education, right? And looking for, you know, predictions eventually and high probability. But let's go right away. We'll be zooming in on the lower time frame, guys. We're just talking about higher time frame scenarios, okay? It has to be discussed, right? Analyzing probability. We'll zoom in on the lower time frame right away, guys. Give me a sec. We are getting a bit of a pullback. We are rejecting from that 50% and naked point of control from the consolidation of Friday. So if you wanted to, you know, anybody that jumped into the short, you know, can be defensive. 50% Fibonacci has been tapped and getting the rejection. Bears want to defend the downtrend, right? We are 1, 2, 3, 4. Bears are attempting it anyway, right? Rejecting at the 50% and that naked point of control, which is the highest volume node that we had from Friday. Basically this consolidation that we had right over here, that, you know, we had a naked point of control literally at 115.4k, around about that area. So let's go right away through the I'm going to go through the comment section, guys, but I, you know, still got a lot of information here to discuss the different different probabilities. Yeah, what other scenarios am I looking at? What other scenarios am I looking at? Make sure to destroy that like button, guys. I got a bit of information. Need to reorganize here the scenarios. Higher time frame to lower time frame. We are going to be literally focusing on this area right over here. Continued with this area also. So nothing to discuss on higher time frame, really. You know, we've lost the chance for this to be an extremely strong impulsive move to the upside. So we really want to focus on what is happening here locally, okay? Bears really defending that 50% Fibonacci. They do want to roll down from here. Not sure if they will succeed or not. What is going to be interesting is if we maintain this higher low in the next coming hours, it will be looking interesting for the bulls eventually. If we maintain this higher low, it's going to be looking interesting for the bulls. Okay, if we do manage to, you know, corrective move and we do get a rally, and then we correct down and we do get another rally, we would have to potentially label this as a wave 1, 2, and 3. Now, what we would want to see later on eventually is a larger pullback and then another leg to the upside. You know, if we were to form this kind of price action where it's looking very strong, you know, we do manage to rally here very aggressively, we correct and then another leg up, you know, we would be labeling this as a very, very strong move to the upside. You know, far away from happening. This movement that we've had today as a consolidation is a very, very shallow pullback. I have to say, this is a shallow pullback. We are getting that slight rejection at the moment. What could be interesting is if the price does move down here and it fails to go to lower levels on the breakdown, a possible ABC flat is a possibility. You know, let's leave it that way. It could be a chance that we could form an ABC flat, but this is going to be a risky bet. There's a lot of noise right now. It's been a shallow pullback. It's just I don't see major high probability a trade setup in this area. You know, for me, there's no high probability trading setup. The rejection had to happen at the 115.3K. We are rejecting $500-600. So I mean, this was the only available level to get a rejection. You know, I would be defensive on that level. You can protect position, naked point of control hit, and the 50% from this pivot high to the pivot low. If you are going to maintain bearish market structure and you are looking for the, you know, downtrend to continue, well, this is kind of the last level to reject from, because as soon as you hit this pivot low that we formed on last Wednesday, yeah, this no longer becomes a scenario. So yeah, the perfect level of rejection, naked point of control, which is literally where we got that rejection here just in the last hour, right? So I mean, that's the only level of rejection that we had for a possible short, which I wasn't personally not that interested in. If this were to be, you know, I'm looking at different plans here where how the price action could develop in the next coming hours, just to give you, you know, high probability scenarios, right? Because if this movement down has really finished, if this movement to the downside in a WXY, we've been analyzing this latest move in the last few days. If this were to be a finished ABC movement, which has the chance, right? As explained, you got your wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're chopping here in your fifth wave right over here in this area. If this were to be the low, then eventually we are looking for a larger swing to the upside, right? A larger move to the upside to get developed. To get into long positions in this shallow pullback, you know, they're just not great. Unless you got into, you know, this local double bottom, right? You got a fake out of the triangle structure here. You formed like an ABC movement. Unless you get into a long position here with this 3-wave move to the downside, you know, figuring out that this is some kind of a 5-wave move up. Very shallow pullback, okay, I have to be honest. This is a pretty aggressive long area just because you've hit the 236 Fibonacci, and it is less common to get a shallow pullback. Instead of a larger pullback, at least hit the 382, and this would be your intra-zone of longs. And it is, you know, uncommon to get shallow pullbacks at the 236 Fibonacci, right? It's just you can trade a swing failure pattern if you're feeling aggressive. You know, if you're feeling aggressive, you just test the lows. You realize that this could have been the 3-wave structure end, and you just, you know, sniper a long stop loss at the low, just realizing that this could have been the correction already. A little bit too shallow. They're not usually that shallow, but you know, the charts is full of different movements that could happen. I'll go through the comment section later on, guys, but what would be interesting is the price claiming this low, because if this is going to be some kind of an impulsive move to the upside, okay, and you have this movement here and then this rally claiming the highs, and then you claim the lows, but then the movement up is pretty interesting, right? As a bounce, you know, we could definitely label all of this as an ABC flat, but this is really being patient and waiting for this movement to the upside, right? And the overall general idea here would be labeling all of this as a wave 1, ABC flat. It gets very choppy, very volatile. Nobody knows what the heck is going on here. We're claiming the highs, we're claiming the lows. It's bearish. We're going to roll over. If we do get this first initial leg up after the breakdown of the local lows of today, this is where the opportunity lies, between the 50% and the 7.8 from the last low that's happened and the last pivot high. This is the moment that you could be very interested if you get this rally. If it is a fake out from today's lows, and that's where you want to participate, right, in the market, in this area right over here on the pullback. And usually you do hit 50% to the 7.8 zone when you get the fibs from the lows to the highs. That would be your moment to take action. If we were to claim the lows and we fail to go to lower prices, right? Revisit this low over here. If we test the lows barely and we suddenly get a massive rally, that is a massive sign of strength. And, that would be your first wave 1 and 2, right? Your second wave 1 and 2, basically, of your third wave or your C wave. Right? So you're looking at this to be your wave 1 or your wave A. This is your B wave or your second wave in a flat. If you were to claim the lows and you unsuccessfully break down, if you get that rally here, then yeah, the rollover down is unlikely if you get that rally to the upside in a 5-wave structure, right? If it does look impulsive, you do get a significant rally here of 5 waves, then the pullback here is going to be looking very interesting for a higher low, because this is your wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 and 5 to either finish your wave 3 on the higher time frame or your wave C, right? At the end of the day, what we're looking at is at least a 3-wave structure. So, it's just finding the high probability setups, guys, right? Trading can be very frustrating and boring till you actually find that sweet spot of a good trading setup. Because eventually I'm interested in winning trades, right? More interested in trying to figure out how to win those trades. And, I want to get the best opportunity levels, right? So when you analyze the scenario, it's not impossible for this to be the end of a wave B or a wave 2. And then, you go to higher levels. It's just rare to see such a shallow pullback. So if we were to claim the lows, I would then say, okay, if we were to see this price action, it ended up being a flat, right? I would realize, okay, it was shallow. People might be FOMOing in for long positions. And then you basically get stopped out here. And then the rally happens. Then that's the initial sign of strength. This price action would be the confirmation that what happened here is a flat. So if we claim the lows and get an epic bounce in a 5-wave structure, very important, then it will be looking very interesting for that correction to participate in this larger move. Could the low be in here? Absolutely. It is not the first time that I see a shallow pullback after and then get a major rally. As explained, the clearest example, which I remember very well because I was discussing this back in April. This is a bit shallow, guys, for a pullback. It's a bit shallow, and then bang, right? And this was one of the movements that I did miss. Then I obviously got into many longs in this area, understanding the correction that was happening here. But this was one of the moves that I missed. And I was very, very pissed off because we realized that the lows could have been in here and was just looking for a new opportunity on this pullback. And I missed this movement. I did miss this movement. If you are a legit follower from the channel, you know that I missed this movement up here. I missed it. Why did I miss it? Because it was a shallow move. It was a shallow pullback that happened here. shallow pullback. WXY ended up in a WXY. And I missed this move. You know, I was waiting for lower, sweep up the lows, and, you know, literally wanted to get into a long position later on. But it didn't happen. So we need to talk about the missed trades as well, right? Not only winning and winning. But yeah, I missed this trading setup. And this, after this epic bounce that we had of, you know, $6,000-$7,000, we only retraced to the 236 Fibonacci from the lows to the highs, right? So it was a sideways corrective structure. And we only hit the 236, which is rare, right? This is the only one that I remember. And also this one right over here. It was very, very bullish after a major move. Just hitting the 236 is just uncommon. We got a double one here. So, you know, it is what it is. It happened twice in the same rally. It was just too bullish. So this is why I'm saying here that based on that information, it's not impossible. It is rare to see, but it is rare to see these shallow pullbacks. Okay, for a three-wave move up, regardless if you continue in 4-5 or not, or then you retrace, then yeah, it is rare. So I mean, preferably if you're not in longs already from lower, this is I'm very, very skeptical in longing this breakout of the triangle. I mean, this would be a scalp, test the highs. If you do reject, if you're long from here, it's just a scalp, right? I'm mainly more interested in bigger swings, right, to go to higher levels. If you're going to trade this, I would trade it as a scalp, right? Boom, test the highs, that's it, you're out, right? I'm interested more in bigger swings. So as mentioned, this would be a great opportunity if we do sweep up the lows and reclaim above with a strong impulsive move in 5 waves. This could definitely be an ABC flat, and then we're looking for that rally later on, ending up in a larger 3-wave move. Okay, that's the general idea here. If you break down successfully, okay, I would be happy to join the downtrend. So if you break down from these lows, the ABC flat would not be a scenario if you break down here quite aggressively in a 5-wave move down. And if the bounce is very corrective and very rangy, then eventually I would want to participate in the short, okay, to claim those lows, and then obviously look for a long position later on. So you have to successfully break down here very impulsively and move down quite a lot beneath this low to invalidate, okay, that expanding flat, and then obviously have a corrective structure. I like the flat idea. I do like the flat idea. If it does happen and you get that rally, significant rally and an impulse, this would be a perfect chance for to get into a long position, right? You're literally looking for that wave 3 and 4, or your ABC structure. A right over here, B and C, right? Looking for a larger move to the upside and looking for the 1-to-1. It would just end up in a flat, and this would be your confirmation movement to get into the long. You never know if that is going to happen. I just need to realize that it's a possibility, because it's been a shallow pullback to get a 3rd wave, right? Which is, if it happens, then I'll be more than happy, because I'm already in long positions. I would be happy for that to happen, right? But just talking about the different scenarios. What other scenarios could we be looking at if the price breaks out here? If the price does rally, and I will go through the comment section right away, guys. I'm just really kind of structuring the different opportunities that could happen if we get that pullback, depending on how the price moves. It can either be a short opportunity if the breakdown is aggressive on that bounce and look for the 5-wave move to the downside, or if it breaks down tests the lows and fails to break down with an awesome rally, you realize that this could be your first wave 1 and 2 of that third wave. So it's all really analyzing what happens in this area for either deciding a short, okay, to continue the momentum on that first bounce, depending on that 5-wave structure down, or failing to move to lower levels and you get a massive rally here. You know, with this information, if we do continue this area, will provide us either a short or a long, which I will definitely let the people know inside of the pro community on the Telegram or the Signals channel. Let's go right away through. I'm going to go through the comment section, say hello to the community, guys. I'm sorry about not going through the comment section. I am going to go right away. I've just got lots of information that I want to provide based on different scenarios on how the price action could develop. I am leaning that we do get to 118, 19, 120K. We do have lots of liquidity, guys. The amount of liquidity that is sitting above us, guys, is absolutely insane. The liquidity that we do have to the upside is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, the amount of liquidity that we have heading up to 120K. So is 120K possible? I think it's highly likely. Not only that it is possible in the next coming weeks, give or take 1 or 2 weeks, I don't know, you know, the overall probability in hitting 120K for me is very likely. 119, 120, because we got this lower high, and you know, I realized that a rejection here could definitely happen after sweeping these highs. I'm very much in favor of heading to higher levels, as the you know, thumbnail says, right? Bounce is likely soon, as explained, based on this 3-wave structure to the downside, realizing that this ABC could be finished right over here. So, you know, you position yourself accordingly as you wish and manage risk. And I'm going to go quickly through the comment section. Sorry about that, guys. I haven't been going through comment section. Very not nice from my part. If you do like the content, guys, the explanations, make sure to destroy the like button. I'm going to talk about some levels and different scenarios if we were to rally. I've explained if we do get the dump down to the downside, I'm very interested in that double bottom. Extremely interested, as explained. And the main reason why is getting a successful breakdown is unlikely. Why is it unlikely? Double 1, 2, not a likely scenario, just because your second wave 1 and 2 is extremely longer in price action, and having a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eventually you would be looking for that rally to sweep up the lower highs of today if it were to be a lower high. So this movement to the upside is highly likely, and failing the breakdown from the lows is highly likely. So I do understand that it's either this or it's, you know, it's very likely this. So you obviously want that reaction. You want to get above this area, and eventually this is the zone where you would be, you know, snipering that long position, stop loss beneath the low, and you're looking for that rally to claim the highs. It's just a very likely trade, guys, which I'm very interested in, and I wanted to share it with you here on YouTube. Comment section, let's go. I told you so. Check the 1 hour candle BTC. 1 hour candle on BTC. What do we need to check about it? We need more information here. It's all about what we are thinking. It's about what the big boys are thinking. We can't move this price. Absolutely not. Hello, Andy. Hello, Legends. Cloudians, how are you? Jackie Wood, I got my mother here. Like and subscribe, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 100K subscribers. My goodness. As closer we get to 100K, it's getting tougher and tougher. It's eventually going to happen, guys. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Let's get to 100K. If you like the information, smash up the like button, guys. Smash it up. I'm not sure how many likes we do have, but it's time for comment section. Let's go. Comment section. I haven't finished with Bitcoin. There is a lot of more info on Bitcoin that I want to talk about. I'm sorry, guys. It is what it is. There are many scenarios that could develop throughout the next coming days, and we just need to be ready. Trading at the moment is on God level. Only Andy can handle this. Phantom, much love to you. The false move down, I mean up. Okay, Meme Cat. False move to the upside. It could definitely be a false move to the upside, okay? A false move to the upside. It could definitely be, okay? It's just, it is rare to have such a shallow pullback, as explained. I'm very much aware of this moving down. I'm very much aware of that happening. Depending on the movement down here and the next information, I will decide either to get into a short position or a long, as explained with what could happen here. So I am aware of this being a fake move up, just because this pullback is very shallow. So a flat here fits nicely. A flat here fits very, very nicely, which could be one of the scenarios depending on that movement up, depending on the bounce. If we break down 5 wave, 3 wave up, we participate on the movement down to hit the lows. So yeah, it's just a bit more information that we need in this zone to give us the highest probability movement. And if we were to break up and continue rallying, I want to go through the different scenarios after going through the comment section, because we do have a lot of more information to talk about. Altcoin season, LFG, let's go. Supposedly, look at this, guys. When you go to Google Trends and you put altcoins, who's been searching for altcoins worldwide in the last 5 years? This is actually not good. We already have a projection on altcoin search on Google that will surpass by next week. You can see the projection here already for next week. Oh my goodness, guys, I don't know. We are, and we haven't seen major rallies. We haven't seen FOMO. So retail are maybe thinking that they're buying the bottom, and it's literally just going to go sideways and to the downside for the next few months, which would be kind of the first time in history, right, where retail on Google are searching for altcoins. This was the bull market, guys, right? Recovery throughout late 2020 and part of 2021. We are projected to get already above those highs, and we haven't even seen a major pump on most of the altcoins. Yeah, Ethereum's got a major rally. We cannot lie about that, in between, July basically. Ethereum did pump very, very nicely, so maybe that hyped up retail, as we can see on Google Trends. Maybe this is going to skyrocket to much higher levels. Who knows? But I don't like seeing this, guys. I like to see this down here. The moment that this rallies, it's not good. Not good. Anyway, let's go through the comment section. Which tokens should I buy? I bought a bit more of ICP. Last few days, I bought another few thousand. That's only my personal investment. I think ICP is going to do pretty damn well. I mean, at least I am looking for $20 on ICP in the next coming months. The interesting thing about altcoin season, Bitcoin is certainly going to range or not do much, maybe even go slightly to the downside or slightly to the upside. And altcoins have a separate life when altcoin season kicks in. ICP, I'm just going to keep it simple. I bought many thousand ICP because I see on the charts good accumulation zone, 3-wave structure, big impulsive move up. This is very one-wavy, and it's actually counting very nicely as a strong impulsive move up. This looks a very strong impulsive move up. And after this movement, with this large downtrend, we at least need one more push to the upside, regardless if it's going to be a crappy, pump and then we bear market later on, or we successfully break and go to higher levels on ICP. This is what I do not know. I do not know if the breakout above $20 will be successful, or will it be just a large ABC movement and then bear market again, right? I do not know. What I do know is that there is high probability that we hit $20. So, I mean, this is a 4x from current price levels. I'm happy for a 4x, guys, in the next coming months. I'm not sure about you, but I'm happy for that. So I'm buying at these low prices. I will not FOMO in on the pump. I will already be positioned. You take that with a grain of salt. I did explain that the lows could be revisited on ICP. I have spare cash on the sidelines. I would buy several thousand more ICP if we revisit $4. And the only main reason why is because we didn't move very impulsively to the upside. So I'm very much, it could be kind of an expanding diagonal, not the best count for this to be an impulse. So I am aware of the lows being claimed again one more time to then finally get the recovery. But when you're DCAing, it doesn't really matter. You know, I don't give a damn. You know, I DCA'd in the previous cycle and I was in a loss consistently, guys. When you DCA, buy the dip and it keeps dipping, guys. It is just part of the game, right? I started buying Bitcoin back in 2022 below $30,000. And I was buying here as we got the low. Gonna buy some Bitcoin. Dip. Gonna buy some Bitcoin. Gonna buy some Bitcoin. Dip. Gonna buy some Bitcoin. More dip. All of the Bitcoin that I bought here was at a loss. But yeah, 1 year later, well, eventually we have massive profits, right? So I am leaning on this altcoin and a few altcoins as well. You know, I got Chainlink and I got a few more other altcoins. Got a bit of Algorand, got some other ones. You know, it's this. You know, it's the same scenario, but I have much better skill on knowing where to buy at low prices. It's just people are getting fed up, right? People are getting fed up. When the hell is altcoin season going to happen? When are we going to get this kind of price action? It happens, right? It happens. This has just been over a year and a half, right, of downtrend, choppy price action. People are pulling their hair, right, and saying, when are we going to get the breakout? When is it going to happen? For many months. It's, you know, make sure to buy after the major drop and consolidation. That's what you need to do, right? No financial advice. You know, the breakout will happen at some stage. You know, you just want to be positioned when you're in profits, just happy days, and, you know, start scratching the profit. So, I mean, I just talked about ICP because it's the only altcoin that I bought in the last, you know, 1 to 2 months. Just because the charts look amazing and the fundamentals are good as well. You know, ICP blockchain does have revenue, right? You have people building up on ICP, and it's just, I think it's good. Fundamentally, it looks good. Charts look even better. So it's going to take some time. But anyway, there is also a lot of liquidity to the downside, says Phantom. Yeah, there is also a lot of liquidity to the downside. We cannot lie about that. There is a lot of liquidity below 112K. There's a few 100 million. You know, I do understand that. We do have the lows right there that have a lot of liquidity. But this is why I'm not, you know, I'm very much aware of the lows being claimed again at 112K. I would just be interested in a double bottom, guys, okay? We break down, okay. We go to lower levels. We get the reaction at the low. I'm interested in longing. Just from what I explained throughout the stream here today, guys. Let's continue here through the comment section. And please, can you look at Melania? I've been trapped for months. Oh my goodness, Melania coin? No way. Melania coin. Yeah, I mean, what can we say about this, guys? This was a bad investment ever since it launched. The hype of Trump coin and Melania coin later on, well, you realize when that coin comes out of Melania, then you realize that, holy moly, that's a bad idea. Bad idea to buy this. I mean, fundamentally, I think it's BS, right? have no idea about the fundamentals of this. It's just been a speculative, Donald Trump president, and get his cryptocurrency out and then the wife's crypto out. This is when you start realizing that we're going to go to much lower levels. When this crap comes out, it's when you're in danger zone, right? Who the hell would want to buy Melania coin? I have no idea, right? But I cannot help you with this. You might think, yeah, it's bottoming out here, right? Selling pressure is getting exhausted. Not in this crypto. I cannot say that the chart looks great for this cryptocurrency. This might just continue this sideways momentum. Eventually, at some point in an altcoin season, you are going to see all of the boats rise on the on the tide, right? But what can I say? Looking at the charts on this one, there's nothing to really say. I cannot help you with that. Big players for sure have huge shorts on Melania. It was one of the most clearest short positions, I have to say. Melania, it's like first Donald Trump coin and then Melania coin. Yeah, this nuke bottom on that one. Yeah, absolutely. 𝗬𝗫𝗃 nuke bottom on that one. Melania coin. My goodness, this is like no bueno, amigos. Pump US dollar, please. Can you look at Ponke? Screw alts. Andy says Staffer one. Yeah, very true. Very true. I just have a bag of a few altcoins out of speculation. Okay. I am a crypto investor as well. I like to have, a dozen of altcoins or so. I have Chainlink, I have ICP, Algorand, a bit of Theta. I have some other low cap coins such as Umbrella, just out of speculation. I don't hold much alts. I hold like a tiny bit of BTC and Link. I did buy ICP because it looks like accumulation. Wouldn't touch coins like DOT. It looks ass to me, says 𝗖𝗵𝗍𝗽. Yeah, Polkadot does not look too great. I mean, this was a very, very hyped up, project back in the previous cycle. It's obviously it is at the lows, and at the lows, selling pressure does disappear, right? Breaking down from the low successfully here from the last few years, it seems like there's not much to sell at the $3-4 range on Polkadot. This is where it struggles to go to lower levels because I think everybody's almost got out. And when everybody's almost out, then this is where the big people accumulate. Believe it or not, right? Because at some point, very, very likely Polkadot, you're going to see that epic rally out of nowhere, right? And that's where they get, people get surprised. So I would give Polkadot a chance in the next coming months. I would give it a chance just because it is a legit project. But we can't have them all, right? We can't catch them all. DOT has a bad team, poor treasury stats. Yeah, well, yeah, this is the thing, right? Fundamentals are maybe ass. Enocoin is a fast horse. Yeah, Enocoin has been doing absolutely awesome. Anyway, let's continue. Good word, Andy. Gonna hold it. Let's analyze Bitcoin here a little bit more, guys. As we get that like button destroyed, let's see. Okay, we got a few people leaving the stream. When we talk about altcoins, people leave the stream. People are like, screw altcoins, right? I don't want to talk about altcoins. We want to talk about Bitcoin. Major opportunity zones. As explained, I am looking for that bounce, even though we got a little bounce today. This is not the kind of bounce that I'm looking for. I am looking for a larger bounce to at least get to 117K area and potentially higher, because the general idea here is to look for a recovery in a three-wave structure, one more low, and then get the three-wave recovery. This is the main question right now that I do have, right? Is the low in already here and we get the bigger rally, or do we create one more low and then we get the rally, right? This is the overall general idea. Levels of resistance that we need to take into consideration based on the price action structure. as mentioned, if we were to get a rally here, it's going to be a little bit, we are going to get a big rally at some point. Okay, at some point, a big movement up is going to happen. Okay, as explained, based on yesterday's stream, looking at this as a three-wave structure, understanding the probabilities of getting a double 1-2 and going to much lower prices from this low or from this low, it doesn't matter. The main reason why it's low probability, as explained before, 1-2, 1-2, yeah, your second 1-2 is extremely long and powerful compared to your first wave 1 and 2. So it's, you know, low probability to get a successful breakdown, at least from this area, or at least from a major bounce. Low probability. So, you know, the overall question from yesterday, is the low in and we get that three-wave move up, or do we create one more low and we get that three-wave move to the upside? I don't know, right? I just realized that getting that movement up is highly likely to happen, and a successful breakdown from here is low probability. So what are the levels of, levels of resistance to take into consideration? Well, it's that weekly naked point of control that we do have from this zone. We do have it on the chart, okay? Weekly naked point of control, which is sitting around about the $118,000. It's going to be interesting how the signs of strength to go to higher levels is definitely going to flip as soon as we get above 115.8K. An impulsive move will be invalidated. The movement up will likely go to higher levels with a pullback or not if we overlap this pivot. So my overall question right now is, will we get a three-wave move to the upside? And, you know, if we do break up from these levels, we got the weekly naked point of control at 118K, slightly below. And will we get a big movement down in a five-wave structure, a bounce, and then go to lower levels? That is something that I want to analyze in the next coming days to either decide if I want to get into a short or I want to get into a long position. Or, you know, or will we get 1, 2, 3, right? We get the rejection here. I mean, this is without a doubt a level of rejection. It's literally the golden pocket, if I'm not mistaken. No, 50% Fibonacci, sorry. Golden pocket is also a rejection area where you have these lower highs and the valley area high. I mean, this is without a doubt 119K zone, a level of rejection. But I'm not interested in you know, shorting the pump really. What I'm mainly interested in is, do we get that rally here? We correct and we get another rally, right? This would be a pretty strong impulsive move to the upside, right? We'd have to spot that scenario, and then we correct down, right? And you know, and this would be the opportunity area, right? Of course, we need a lot of information here on the chart for this to come to fruition, but you know, that's what I would be really looking for, to really see that, you know, we could be actually breaking up to higher levels later on, right? Depending on how we move up here. If we do so in the next coming days, you know, in a five-wave move, then eventually the correction is what we are interested in, to look for long positions, right? To get that next leg to the upside, to see if it is going to be, I don't care about a third wave or a C wave. We do understand that there is more liquidity above 120K than actually below 112K. There is more liquidity to the upside than to the downside, which is obviously, you know, pretty attractive. And we are still labeling all of this as a kind of a corrective structure instead of a massive bearish, you know, impulsive move formation. Very, very hard to fit an impulse here. Very, very hard. And this is literally coming to the end stages, in my opinion, here at this zone. So yeah, I mean, what can I say? If you are going to be testing the lows in between today and tomorrow, a double bottom is without a doubt. You got an order block here with a naked point of control at 111.2k. Very interested in longing in this area, understanding that this movement is highly likely. This movement here is highly likely. And why this movement is highly likely? Because a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're looking for the, if it were to be a fifth wave on the formation here, you're looking for a significant bounce. It could be the end of a ABC, larger ABC right over here. So yeah, I mean, high probability of a movement up. If we were to revisit the lows of Saturday at 112k, would be very interested in that double bottom. Local price action has been explained. A flat is without a doubt a possibility. All depends on that bounce. If we break down successfully here, then in a 5-wave structure, then obviously the bounce will be very attractive without a doubt. Okay, that bounce after a 5-wave move down would be very attractive to get into that short position on the bounce. It would be a confirmation if you do break down aggressively to look for a lower high. Okay, and continue to the downside to revisit the lows here. So yeah, this zone is pretty interesting. The levels to reject from the bears have been respected, surprisingly enough. Right, we do have the bearish speculative momentum, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You do not want to overlap this pivot for the bears, and the 50% Fibonacci needs to maintain without hitting the golden pocket, which is literally what happened. So we did get that rejection of $1,000 approximately right now as we speak on the ultimate level of where the bears need to reject, that we did explain on the stream for any bears out there that wanted to get into a short position. Well, that was literally the level. Let's go through comment section and say hello. Remember, the swing lows and highs never are created on the weekend. Very interesting. Yeah, it's breaking down, says 𝗲𝗂. 𝗲𝗂 is very bearish. If it goes above 118, it will rally. Yeah. Interesting fact that he said about the lows, swing lows are not created in the weekend. This was created on the weekend. So, I mean, I'm not sure if that's something that I haven't checked out myself. If major swing lows, swing levels haven't, are not created in the weekend. Well, this one was created on Sunday. So, I mean, that, this swing low was created on a Sunday. Swing higher low, if you wish. Back on June the 22nd. My strategy is to buy the dips and sell the highs. Yeah, well, I buy high and sell low. 90k low is weekend. 98k low is weekend as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a major claim right over there. 98k low is also a weekend. Nothing to do with the weekend can form a higher low. Yeah, like I explained, that low right over there was on Sunday the 22nd. This was a Sunday that was created that low, so it's not a legit claim, I think. Local bullish CVD divergence. That is awesome. We got some local bullish CVD divergence. This is why the flat structure could be an option, guys. You might create a swing failure pattern from these local lows, okay? The local lows right over here. As this is a shallow pullback to rally successfully, right? It's usually this would usually be a shallow pullback. The fact that you can form an ABC flat here to just sweep up the lows and get a bullish move up and a corrective structure, as we do have bullish CVD divergence from the low of Sunday. There are bullish CVD divergence forming here from this low. There is, I mean, well, what can we say? They've already been hitting the highs. This is why we got this rally, but we could continue the big aggressive bullish CVD divergence, right? We just continue dropping lower lows on the CVD, except for Bybit for the moment, and just higher lows on price action. This is why this ABC flat idea is interesting. So we really need to check what happens here in the next coming hours. It either successfully moves down, and then the bounce is a three-wave structure. Then we look for another new low to be formed. If the rally here is a five-wave structure, then the correction could be your golden ticket, basically, to basically get that rally to the upside, to head up to, 117, maybe 118K. Let's see. The breakdown, would suggest what's the highest probability. Let's get that like button, guys, at least to 250 likes. Let's go, legends. Much appreciated. We talked about the higher time frame, different scenarios, looking at why I do believe that Bitcoin will not hit 200K in this cycle. 130K or so could be overall the topping range. We are losing the momentum. I've been very, very bullish, guys, for the last few months, looking for Bitcoin to go to much higher prices. The momentum was bullish, and now we have a problem from this impulsive move, guys. No longer an impulse, which is obviously, telling me that the probabilities of breaking up to extreme high levels is decreasing at the moment till proven otherwise. Okay, the best option eventually would be a 112 here, which is low probability. However, somebody might say, what if all of this was a wave one, right? You got your wave one, wave two, wave three. This is your wave four, and this is your wave five. Yeah, this is literally, too small in time to be a wave four, right? It's just not, it doesn't fit, guys. So for all of this to be a wave one, this a wave two, yeah, just not part of the plan, not part of the plan. Let's get that like button to 250 likes, guys. And if we get to 500 likes, we're going to do 350 people watching. We will do a giveaway of $500. Again, Andy CME gap at 117K. I like that. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy that looks for gap filling, but we do have apparently a CME futures gap, which eventually do provide resistance and support. I don't see that gap. 106 CME futures gap. I don't see the CME futures gap. There's no CME futures gap. Hi, Andy. Liked. Much love. Domagala, you were a winner of $500. I remember your little emoji right there on your profile. He was a winner of $500 a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken. I remember sending you $500. Yes, giveaways. Yeah, let's get that like button destroyed and we can do a giveaway. Absolutely. Yes. I remember. Need $500 US, says Quantake. Couldn't the momentum return, says Thebo. Could the momentum return? Absolutely. As mentioned, that we got some higher time frame scenarios that do suggest that, yeah, we got this contracting diagonal that does suggest another all-time high. This one also, even though we get a deeper pullback, another new all-time high is likely. Another new all-time high is likely regardless, because we moved up in a three-wave structure. And unless you have a three-wave structure here finishing this contracting diagonal, then, you cannot finish a bull market like this. Okay, so all-time high is still very likely. I'm just saying that a massive breakout to hit 200K is unlikely in this bull market, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, still looking relatively okay. Smash the like button. I'm going to take a hike and let's see if the like button gets to 250, guys. And when I'm back, let's see if it's there. How about that? Let's go. BTC dominance. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. What is going on with the BTC dominance? Yes, let's go. Bitcoin dominance. What is it saying? The Bitcoin dominance. Altcoin season. It is going down, so we might be seeing some altcoins getting a nice little bounce, nice little recovery. We are getting that dip on the Bitcoin dominance. This actually looks pretty damn legit to come and revisit the lows. It does look very, corrective. Got a big major move down. We could label this as, we are 1, 2s, 3s. 3 over here. Nice little bounce here in a 3-wave structure. Bitcoin dominance to get that dip to revisit the lows that we did form here on the 21st of July. Altcoin season, baby. Let's go. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Moonbag mission, guys. Because Bitcoin dominance revisited the highs, failed to go to higher levels, and yeah, it's time to revisit the lows after a major move to the downside, right? How can we develop this major breakdown? That is what we need to see in the next coming days and next few weeks. We might get that bounce, that rally on some altcoins. What's going on with Ethereum? Let's check out Ethereum, legends. What's going on? Let's go. Ethereum getting a pretty nice bounce. Let's go, Ethereum. Look at this rally that Ethereum is forming with the Bitcoin dominance falling, guys. Absolutely epic. Absolutely epic bounce on Ethereum. Ethereum, Ethereum to all-time highs, guys. We've been leaning on that. I have a massive bag of Ethereum. If you are a legit follower from the last few years, we've been talking about buying Ethereum eventually here in this zone after this big major correction that we had, bear market basically. But the latest zone of accumulation that we talked about was not too long ago, guys. This was back in April. Between March and April, once we got down here, understanding that this was a corrective structure. And it was time to accumulate heavy below 2K, guys. Buy Ethereum on this dip, because at some point we are going to reverse up and start heading up to all-time high, very, very likely. We need to find those streams. It won't be very hard to find, but if you did follow through, it was Ethereum Monday, right? Every Monday we buy 1 Ethereum. It was only 5-6 weeks till we actually got back above 2K. Then accumulation finish, right? We need to buy low and sell high. That's the overall game to make it here in the crypto space. So I'm calling for all-time high, guys, on Ethereum. Even though Bitcoin, right, hits all-time high or doesn't hit all-time high or doesn't go to 200K, altcoins, Ethereum and altcoins will get their rally, will get their chance to make a 2, 3, 4x in this cycle. It might be smaller than usual, but they will get that chance to get all the way up here to the altcoin season, right? We're halfway through and not many altcoins have done that much. It is going to happen. Be ready to sell, be ready to take some profits, guys. Because without a doubt, a bear market could be around the corner in the next coming months. Just the next rally, we need to start taking some profits, right? BTC dominance, monthly candle. Monthly candles on the Bitcoin dominance. Let's check the Bitcoin dominance. That like button, oh my goodness, it's getting destroyed. Let's go, legends. The Bitcoin dominance on the monthly candles. What can we say about the monthly candlesticks on the Bitcoin dominance? I'm not too sure. We got a very nice engulfing candle on the monthly on the Bitcoin dominance, which is eventually good. It is eventually a good sign. First engulfing candle, we've got one right over here. My bad. We do have one there, ever so slightly. It wasn't too engulfing, but it's been the biggest engulfing candle on the monthly. From this major uptrend that we've had since 2022. That's a first good sign of weakness, if you ask me, right? On the monthly, first major monthly engulfing candle from the entire uptrend, right? I mean, this was one of it, but we're going to eliminate this one. It was barely just closing beneath the open of the previous month. We're not going to count this one. Very, very shallow. Well, this one's pretty heavy. So, I mean, it does look pretty damn good for the Bitcoin dominance to start dropping down aggressively in the next coming months to the end of the year, guys. It does, suggest that is very, very likely what is going to happen. So we should be seeing those altcoin bags getting a major rally. This is why we need to have some altcoins, guys. We just need to have some, right, out of speculation. Looking at the 4-year cycle, Bitcoin all-time highs, major rally, Ethereum already starting to really, show that strength. High probability that Ethereum does reach all-time high in the next coming months, as explained, guys. Since we created the, this drop, guys, we were very much aware of this happening. So yeah, some altcoins to follow. That is the overall game. Price looks good for now. Is that on Bitcoin? Altcoin season is going for 1 month after Bitcoin tops. Yeah, potentially. Altcoin seasons are not usually very long. On average, they can be 2, 3, or even 4 months. When we take a look at the previous cycle, the major rallies happen in just a couple of months. They are usually relatively fast. Need 500 likes. Let's go, guys. I do doubt that it's going to get to 500 likes today. Very unlikely. So no gap to fill today, says MemeCap. No, apparently not. We did not leave a CME gap. Somebody was saying about a CME gap from the weekend, and yeah, we don't have one. We don't really have a gap. We basically got the drop on Friday. We've basically been ranging. There's actually a CME gap to the downside, if I'm not mistaken. Let's get this out of the way. Yeah, we basically got the gap to the downside. There is a slight little gap from Friday's close and Monday open here on the CME. So the gap is down here. It's a very, very small one. Very, very small little gap here at the 114K levels. And this is on the CME, of course. This would be around about 113.5K on Bitcoin. There is a small little gap. There is a small little gap. Just right over here. Small little gap here. In this area. When we take a look at the CME futures gap, you can see it right there, guys. So yeah, that's where it is. Could be interesting to see some support if we do get that bullish CVD divergence to speculate on a higher low. We're going to have to see if we do get bullish CVDs, if it is very corrective, right? If it is choppy, we don't break down and we do move down, it's very, very corrective kind of price action, a bit of a bull flaggy kind of formation, then we can obviously say CME gap has provided that support right over here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but there's a little gap, little tiny one that does provide support. I'm not a fan of filling the CME gap. It can get filled whenever. So yeah, BTC dominance monthly looks juicy. Yeah, I mean, it does look very, very juicy indeed. That Bitcoin dominance on the monthly time frame. My goodness, that was a incredible monthly close from July on the Bitcoin dominance. We have not seen this kind of close in the entire uptrend from the last 3 years. I mean, this is the first good sign of weakness on the Bitcoin dominance, let's say, from this uptrend, right? It's still uptrending, but it's the first good sign that things can look very, very well for the next coming months, guys. What can I say? It's been a long time. It's been a long time. That rally on altcoins, will happen at some stage, guys, in the very near future. The overall question is which targets are your altcoins going to hit? I have some targets very clear on my altcoin bags. When Chainlink hits plus $30, I'm starting to get out. When Chainlink does hit plus $30, I'm going to start getting out no matter how strong the bullish move is. I don't care. I realize that there is a high chance that we do hit $30, and that my overall question is it a double 1-2 and then we blast off in a third wave, or do we form a expanding diagonal and it really tops out at $36, $40 and we get a bear market later on? I don't know. What I do know is that we're very likely going to hit this level. I'm not sure about the breakout, guys. I don't know, right? Depending on the information that we do get, this could be a double 1-2 perfectly, and then 3, bang, 4, 5, 4, 5. I would be skeptical if we do get the choppiness after a big wave up, then I'm going to get out, guys. I'm going to get out. So, I mean, this would only be over a 2x on the price action. I know where I want to sell on my altcoins. You need to know where to sell on your altcoins, right? ICP, high probability we get to $20 plus. That's where I'm starting to get out, guys. DCA in, DCA in, DCA in, DCA in, DCA out, DCA out, no matter how high we go. Right, so I have my targets and my investment on altcoins pretty clear. I'm happy to hold on in a loss and accumulate more. My strategy is clear on altcoins. You need to know your altcoins. What's your take, right? I'm happy with a 4x because I didn't put $10,000 on ICP here, guys. I put a bit more. So, making a few $100,000 profit, well, yeah, you know the deal, right? I'm happy to take that out. So I do get the people that, maybe invest $500 and then, your investment is 2,000 or 3,000. I'm going to wait, see if it goes to higher levels, and then you literally ride it all the way down again because the profits were not life-changing, right? Enough. It really depends. So you're getting out early at the highs. Yeah, I'm taking, I will be selling, I would say, over 50% of my bag. Okay. Depending on the information that we do get later on, right? This is why I'm not selling any Ethereum here. I understand that all-time highs is very, very likely just because we have had a multi-year corrective move. And for the moment, this is still developing the first leg to the upside. So I will be getting out just to take profits, and I will leave a moon bag depending on the information that we get on ICP later on as we revisit those highs. It might blast off in a massive third wave. So, we might form a 1-2 throughout the next coming weeks, right? And then it just blasts off here in a third wave, 4 and 5. Maybe it's a 5-wave structure and then we get a movement down, and as mentioned, is this going to be an ABC? I do not know. If we start moving down quite correctively, right, then I will say, okay, we're probably going to go to higher levels. If we start rejecting very impulsively, right, and we correct to the upside, I will be selling more here. I will be selling more if we move down in a 5-wave structure, and the bounce, if it is corrective, right, and we start forming this kind of price action, I'm going to get out. I'm going to say, okay, maybe this was very likely the top. It's all based on what information we get on the rejection. But to stay on the safe side, I'm going to get out at the highs, with over 50% with profits. Then anything can happen, right? It could disappear out of the map. I've made my profits, maybe not as much as I wanted, but at least I'm staying on the safe side. And we talked about a few coins back in 2024, such as Phemex Network. Some of them didn't play out, as we wanted. But Phemex Network, this was the same thing. Constellation DAG. We had a couple of other ones as well that did reach the highs of March of 2024. This was the strategy. And some people were laughing here because they were saying a 4x in crypto is nothing, right? And I'm like, I don't care, right? I did, I made almost $100,000 on this because I went in big. I did put over $25,000 on 𝗏𝗏 Network down here, and we did get the major rally, and I took here most of the profits, over 50%. I rode the rest of the bag down, but I did get my initial investment out, right? It was at a plus 100K profit. Took over 50% of that. You need to stay on the safe side, right? The moon bag didn't play out very well because it's literally at entry price again. I do see 𝗏𝗏 Network getting a massive recovery. It's an awesome project. It's in AI, Oracle, all sorts, made in USA. Awesome team and roadmap. I think it's fundamentally strong as it is also in AI. I think this one is going to do very well. It's at accumulation zone. So anybody that's interested, make sure to do your own research. The chart is literally at the bottom levels where we have been proven to see that the selling pressure is exhausted. Gets exhausted. It gets exhausted. So yeah, without a doubt, good fundamental project. It's at rock bottom levels where the selling pressure disappears and you get the rallies usually at this level. So I'm expecting a rally on this one, guys, in the next coming months, right? There's not much, not much to explain here on this. And it is an awesome project, guys. Make sure to go and check it out, 𝗏𝗏 Network. It is one of those altcoins in AI, right? AI was the main niche, right, in 2024. I think it still is. Everybody's talking about AI, even my grandmother, right? ChatGPT, this, that, the other, AI generated and all sorts. So it's still a very hot topic. And this one is heavily in AI. So yeah, I mean, but as an investor, I had to take profit at the highs. Anybody that is a follower from 2024 remembers the take profit zone from the accumulation that we had back in 2024, right? BTC seeing a little action. Let's take a look at BTC. Yeah, BTC wants to push. It wants to push. It wants to push. Yeah, as mentioned at the beginning of the stream, was not too interested here in a short. Not interested, not very interesting movements. I'm more interested in bigger swings. For me to scalp this area was just, I am looking to scalp some scenarios, but this is just a very, very shallow range, and not interested in the bearish short position because of this downtrend probably being finished. And that WXY is probably finished, right? So more interested in longs to claim 117, 118K at a bare minimum, right? Maybe even hit that liquidity at 120K zone. I'm literally interested in the bounce. Literally interested in this movement, or, this higher low, or test the lows and move up. This is a high probability movement, regardless if we test the lows or not. I don't care. This is a high probability movement to the upside to happen. So, very much interested in profiting from that move. Got still a couple of swing longs open. Anyway, legends. Andy, how come the Fed cut rates will impact the how come Fed cut rates will impact the in September 25? It's that bearish or bullish. A lot of people are, bullish on the interest rate cuts. By the way, guys, there is an awesome bonus going on Weeks at the moment. I just came across this tab right now. We can talk about that right away. But if you download the app, okay, sign up with the link down below in the description, guys, for Weeks. There is a $1,000 Ethereum position for free, guys. Make sure to sign up right away with the link down below because it's a $1,000 Ethereum position, okay? You got 25% fee reduction on Weeks, up to $30,000 deposit. You will get airdrops on bonuses, of course, to trade with if you do move significant amount of volume. And there's 25% fee reduction, guys. Make sure to sign up with the link down below or in the pinned comment. You do have it in the pinned comment as well. And it's an awesome bonus, okay? You do have bluffing as well as a great alternative. You got 20% cashback on Bluffin as well, guys. These are both great exchanges. You only need an email and a password, no information needed. And you got the biggest bonuses available down below, okay? You got Bluffin all weeks, second link or fourth link down below. Anyway, let's go through the interest rate decision. That is right now at 89% chance that there is going to be an interest rate cut in September. A lot of people are kind of bullish with this. I have a little bit of a mixed sentiment with interest rates going down. Usually interest rates go down when things are bad. Okay. Apparently things are good in the US economy. Everything's okay. Employment rate is low. GDP increased in the month of July. So it's like, yeah, everything's doing pretty damn good in the US. So with the interest rate cuts, eventually it should be even better, right? People can borrow money for cheaper rates, which should technically be quite good to get into risk on assets. I mean, people are making a massive big deal about this. It's only a 25 basis cut, right? I wouldn't say it's insane. When interest rates go close to 0, 1% or 0, then it's literally free money that you can get with no interest. But people make such a big deal about this, interest rate cut. It's only a 25 basis point. And in the past, throughout the recessions that we had in the past, 1990 recession, 2000 dot-com bubble, 2008 financial crash, interest rates went down when there were cracks in the economy. And obviously that brings a pretty devastating bear market. But that's when interest rates went extremely low. Usually putting down interest rates is because the economy is fucked up, basically, right? And, we need a little bit of free money and money printing. And it usually is followed by a downtrend crash or bear market. That's what the past has told us. Right now, it's different, maybe, as the economy is doing well. GDP in July in the US was awesome. Low unemployment rate. Everything's doing okay for the moment. We could not predict a black swan event, right? World War III. Who knows, guys? Who knows, right? Nobody knows what the heck is going to go, what's going to happen in the coming months. But I'm not sure why there's such a big deal about this interest rate cut to happen in September. It's 25 basis points. You think it's going to have a major big impact? It might be bearish. I think most of the people are expecting bullish based on this information. It might even be bearish, guys. I don't know. I just don't give it too much importance. Anyway, Zero Jobs says PLNT Earth. Zero jobs. We live in the present. That's right, my man. We live in the present. You say correctly. Interests usually went down before a crash. That's true. I mean, when we do take a look at 1990, even previous decades, when we've had a recession, you can see the dot-com bubble and 2008, how interest rates, were going down just because as an emergency, right, to save the economy and start pumping some liquidity at cheap rates, right, because we've made a big fat mess. If we take out the lows, would that mean lower? Juan Caber, no, I explained this yesterday and also today, why if we were to take out the low, the probabilities in breaking down successfully are unlikely. The low could be in here for the moment locally, and we could be heading up to 118, 119K. And if we were to revisit the lows in between today and tomorrow, a double bottom would be extremely, extremely interesting. High probability in getting a bounce to hit the lower highs of today, which we would be labeling as a possible wave 4 at a bare minimum. Of course, higher is possible, but it would be a high probability trading setup. And that's what I explained basically on the live stream. Levels of resistance is the weekly naked point of control at 118K. Weekly naked point of control right over here. Depending on how the price develops, of course, what we want to see is that wave 3 or the wave C formation, right? 1.618 extension of your wave 1 and 2. I mean, what I'm more interested in here is potentially forming that wave 4. Okay, and if we do get that wave 4 and then we get another leg up here, I do realize that it's either going to double top or form a lower high right there. We possibly claiming this lower high, and I would be interested in that short position. At least for the pullback, that would be a day trade, little swing trade scenario, depending on how we move up here. We're looking for a 5-wave impulse. The 5th wave, I'll be paying attention very carefully for that short. And obviously, depending on the movement down here, I would be interested in a correction to get that leg up to the upside to get above 120K, maybe all-time high. We would have to go with that information in the next coming days, legends. But as explained, bounce likely on the thumbnail, on the title, bounce likely, right? Claiming the lows or not claiming the lows. This could be the low as explained. If we were to claim the low, I would be very interested in a long position on a double bottom. Bouncing up here to higher levels throughout the next coming days, even we go down locally, is the highest probability looking at the slightly higher time frames. Legends, thank you very much for joining today's stream. Make sure to claim those bonuses on those exchanges, guys. We've got weeks with that $1,000 Ethereum airdrop when you sign up and download the app, guys. Make sure to take advantage of this. Follow the instructions to get that airdrop. You got 25% fee reduction, bluffing, awesome bonuses as well, 20% cashback on your deposit. You got the links down below to be eligible for all of those perks, guys. Bluffing, second link, 4th link, weeks, guys. Much love to everybody. Thank you for joining today and smashing up the like button, and I will see you tomorrow.